We have some breaking news. The Supreme Court issuing a ruling on President Trump's taxes, and Cheddar's Megan Pratt is standing by the first of at least two rulings. Megan, what can you tell us?
Absolutely, Kristen. So the Supreme Court decided to split the tax cases into two separate rulings. There was some speculation that they would rule on these together because they encompass a similar issue. One is whether the New York District Attorney, Cy Vance, is able to ask the president for his tax returns and whether the president can be compelled to give him those tax returns under subpoena. The Supreme Court, in a 7-2 ruling, saying that yes, the president has to hand over his tax returns in a subpoena to the New York attorney. And that is a massive, massive loss, if you will, for the president. And also very, very interesting to see here, Kristen, exactly who ruled in what way. A 7-2 decision is not a narrow decision. That means that all of the liberal wing of the court, of which there are 4 justices, were joined by 3 other justices. And in this case, it was John Roberts, Brett Kavanaugh, and Neil Gorsuch, the latter 2 of whom are Trump's appointees on the court. Expect the president to rail against this decision heavily this morning. Again, we are awaiting one more decision, as you said there, about the president's tax returns. This case, as I said, relates to a request from New York State. We are now waiting to see whether he will be compelled to give his tax returns to the U.S. Congress. And I can only speculate as to what I believe the court will do. I do think they will have a hard time justifying not handing tax returns to a co-equal branch of government in the legislative branch if they've already ruled to do so. And I'm getting some information now that perhaps we do have a decision in that case. Is that the case? We may have a decision in the second case, Kristen. Let's take a look at that now.
Yeah, Megan, I am watching the markets here. We do see that the Dow falling to its session lows. In the wake of this, the Dow currently down about 160 points on this news. The loss is accelerating just a bit. It's down 0.6%, so not as volatile as we've seen it before. But certainly the markets don't like this, and very much in focus the Trump re-election campaign. Trump has been extremely favorable to Wall Street, especially with his appointments like Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin. Wall Street has been a big advocate of President Trump since he actually took office, and so seems to be some disappointing news for investors now. The Dow currently down about 186 points. Megan, is there anything else that's on your radar at this moment?
Absolutely. I want to read just a quote from this opinion from the Chief Justice John Roberts, who has almost been a bit of a foe for the president in this Supreme Court season. Now, keep in mind, John Roberts is no liberal justice. He is a conservative. He was placed as Supreme Court Chief Justice in particular by George W. Bush in the early 2000s. He is known for being a stalwart conservative, and when he has sided with liberal justices, he has often done so, as in the case with the recent abortion ruling, on a technicality. That is not the case today. So let's read part of his decision, and I want to thank our producer Ben Dieter for sending this to me. He said this, quote, "In our judicial system, the public has a right to every man's evidence. Since the earliest days of the Republic, every man has included the President of the United States." That, of course, is saying today, Kristen, that the president is not immune from any type of investigation, prosecutorial conduct. And remember, the president tweeted a bit ago, Kristen, quote, "prosecutorial misconduct," which, of course, is his idea of saying that there is overreach in New York State. As we have been saying, we only have the singular case at this point. We are still awaiting the decision in the second case, but right now the president is going to be compelled by the Supreme Court to issue his tax returns to the New York State's Attorney's Office. This is going to be a massive, massive problem for the president, who has tried to keep all of that information out of the public.